Hello, welcome to episode 199 of the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1001 movies you must see before you die. From 1964, The Masque of the Red Death, directed by Roger Corman, adapted from the short story by Edgar Allen Poe at some point in the 1860s. So 100 years on from this gothic short story, Roger Corman, noted independent filmmaker and guy who influenced and brought up so many up-and-coming directors at a certain point where they would go on to far outstrip his success and name value. People like James Cameron, and that there's so many other ones. So I've always heard of Roger Corman when I'm looking at documentaries of like my favourite directors and things like that. Roger Corman is a name that keeps coming up and up and up. And I hadn't really seen a film of his before, at least I don't think. And he did a slew of Edgar Allan Poe adaptations starring the one and only Vincent Price, horror legend, and just a great theatrical kind of actor. Really big fan of Vincent Price, even though I've only seen him in like a handful of films really, and I can only imagine that his filmography is quite extensive, so I've really only scratched the surface. Theatre of Blood is probably my favourite one. I really enjoy that film. But The Masque of the Red Death is set in Italy, and a Red Death, a plague, has spread across the countryside. And Vincent Price plays Prince Prospero, who lives in his castle, and he's passing through one of the villages to get the harvest, and he gets confronted by some of the villagers. And that's when he realizes that the Red Death has hit the village, and so he takes with him a young peasant girl along with her father and lover, with the idea that he's going to get this peasant girl to choose between her father and her lover, which one will die. So he just wants to kind of entertain himself and his guests with this kind of game of life and death. And the movie takes place primarily inside the castle, and now that the Red Death has spread, Prince Prospero makes sure that everyone stays inside the castle. They're on lockdown, they won't let anyone in, and if anyone comes up and asks if they want to come in, he will shoot them dead. He's ruthless. And it's about him trying to lure this peasant girl, Francesca, into his world of Satanism. It's not the kind of film I usually like. It's definitely not the time period I like at all in films, that kind of medieval period piece. You know, just the costumes I don't like, the setting I don't really like. You know, an exception to this would be something like The Adventures of Robin Hood, which is so fun that I just loved it anyway. But this one was just a bit too on that kind of period side that just didn't really interest me too much as far as just the setting really. And sometimes setting can play a big part in your enjoyment of a film. However, Vincent Price was awesome in this film. So watchable, so enjoyable, so deliciously evil. He just played his part perfectly, and he so far outstrips every other actor in the film. He even, I mean, the sets are impressive, don't get me wrong. I don't like the style of it, but they're done well. But he just is of such a quality that he just outshines every single aspect of the film. You know, even the writing he seems to rise above. You know, not that it's badly written, but you know, he is just firing on all cylinders, and is such a great actor for those kinds of roles. And so really, to me, the only real selling point of this is pretty much Vincent Price. I liked the idea of these rooms with the different colours, and apparently in the original short story it was 7 different colours, which kind of gets touched on at the end of the film. But we see this succession of rooms of, I think, 4 different colours, and he says that his father once locked a man inside this yellow room for 3 years, and after those 3 years the man couldn't bear to see the sun or a daffodil, and it was just to see if he could mess around with the human mind that much. That's probably the most interesting part of the film, is that little story about the man who got locked in the yellow room for 3 years. I almost wanted to see that movie, but it was good. It was good. I wasn't as interested in the side characters very much. I didn't find the actress who played Francesca to be all that interesting. Very much just reacting to stuff and oh no and oh don't do this and don't do that, which is fine, but there just wasn't really any character to the rest of the film. There was Prince Prospero's kind of second-hand man, his kind of underling. He had an interesting kind of character, but really it's all about Prince Prospero. It's about Vincent Price. So if you like Vincent Price, this is a film you should definitely check out, and he does great with the role. Overall, though, you know, there's some interesting stuff towards the end. Without spoiling anything, I liked some of the ideas, the visual ideas they threw at the end there. But overall, it was good. It was decent. Wasn't great. Is it a film you should see before you die? I don't think so. I read the review in the book to see, okay, what does the critic who wrote the little, you know, piece on the page in the book, 1001 movies you must see before you die, what did they write about this film? Sell it to me. Why is it a must-see film? And the review basically just says this is one of the Edgar Allan Poe films that Vincent Price did with Roger Corman, and this is the plot, and this is a couple of scenes that happen, and here's some of the actors that are in it. That is it. It just describes the movie. It doesn't describe any of the merit of why it's a special film or anything like that. So, yeah, if you're a Vincent Price fan, it's an absolute must-watch. And it is almost a film you should see before you die, purely for his performance. But when it's just that, for me, that is the only thing, as good as it is, I just, you know, and there's nothing wrong with the film, there really isn't. It looks really nice, like with the sets and everything, like I said, the production design, the costumes, all well done. The story just didn't grab me that much, you know, even with some of the kind of the Satanism elements, which are quite dark, and there's a really cool kind of sequence where a woman brands herself on the chest, and she surrenders herself to Satan, and she goes in this kind of trippy, she goes into this other realm, and it's really well done, but I just didn't have anything to grab onto with the story that much. I didn't really care about any of the characters at all, so it just kind of it didn't rise above being just a good film. So there you go, that's my thoughts on the Masque of the Red Death. Leave me your thoughts down below, what you think of the film, if you disagree with me, if you think it is a film you should see before you die. If you have any Vincent Price recommendations, I would love to hear them. Roger Corman recommendations, I'd love to hear more about him, because I thought the film was very good, you know, it just... I'd be interested to see more from Roger Corman for sure. It's certainly not something I didn't like, and maybe would even revisit again. Actually, I think that I enjoyed Vincent Price's performance that much that I would watch this film again. But it's not quite a film that you must see before you die for me. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the monumental 200th episode, and I'll see you with that one.